Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to yet another episode of the Wisdom Save podcast. As always, I am Ken.
I'm Hannah still.
And nothing has changed, thank goodness. Now we're going to dive into Hannah's topic for this time around. So I only got the vaguest of hints from you at this point. What have you got for us this time?
So, as you can see, I have a giant little booklet that I printed off.
I can see that. Everyone else. She has a very large
That's why
booklet.
I shook it.
Yeah, you can all hear the very large booklet that she has created from thin air and the power of printing.
So I told you guys last week that I was going to be bringing us back to Reddit threads this week because
Yes.
we like it. I don't know if you guys like it, but we like it. But this time we're going to go to a different part of Reddit. We've already done r/scary stuff.
Yeah, we did spooky stuff and we did Am I the Asshole?
This time, so I got a new job at at a wine store.
Yeah, package store in town.
Which is pretty slow. So most of the time I spend my day, other than selling old people beer and wine, I will usually draw and listen to Reddit videos on YouTube.
Oh, sure, yeah. The ones with like the voiceover, the robotic voiceover that I think is annoying.
No, there's actually one guy that like reads them out loud.
Oh, okay, I got you.
I want to link him because he's really good at what he does, and for anyone that wants a Reddit fix and doesn't want to read a bunch of Reddit stories, he's really good.
Sure. I think I know who you're talking about. I've heard him before.
I wish I could say him by name, but I don't know. I can look at my YouTube history and I'll tell you. But anyways,
anyway. We'll link the channel or something below in our description.
Yeah,
so.
If I could get my fucking phone to work with me, I could tell you really fast and be like real like fucking cohesive.
It's like, haha, never mind. I totally knew this the whole time.
Yeah, it would have been really like fucking cool if I could have just done it instead of. He's just called r/.
Oh, all right. Well, that's easy.
But not like R and then a / It's RSLACH r/.
SLA, yeah.
SCH, whatever the fuck.
SH, yeah.
But most of the time, what I listen to him do is I usually listen to like r/ entitled parents, r/ am I the asshole, like all sorts of things. But this time, what I've been listening to a lot recently is r/ ProRevenge.
r/ProRevenge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what that is.
It's stories about people being assholes and then how people got their revenge.
Ooh, okay. I love a good comeuppance story.
So I printed off 6 stories, which actually I thought would be really interesting because when I've been reading them or listening to them recently, I don't know any of the stories. So this time I went onto r/ ProRevenge and I printed off 6 stories I don't know.
Oh shit, okay.
I read the beginning of most of them just to make sure that the people that wrote it like weren't like totally crazy or like had really bad grammar, so I'd like stammer in the middle of the podcast.
Right, sure.
Which I will still do. But I read the little beginning, like the setup to make sure the story was like at least vaguely interesting, and then I just printed the story off. Now I have 6 of them to read, and then we can react to them together.
So the way that this Reddit thread works is like, are we like, there's nothing to like judge on, it's just kind of like, this is the revenge story?
Yeah. I mean, you can kind of judge it at the end if you want to. Sometimes
it's not like Am I the Asshole where it's like this person
like we're going
to
decide if they're the asshole or not.
Yeah.
They just say what the person did and then how they got their revenge. And sometimes like when I will when I watch the other guy do it, sometimes he'll make commentary and be like, wow, that like was like fitting revenge, or like, oh man, like I would have done so much more than that, or something like
right.
That. So obviously we're gonna have our own commentary on it.
Sure.
But sometimes they're like, oh wow, that's not even revenge. That you just like ruined someone's entire existence.
Yeah, you just unmade.
But that's usually in / or r/ nuclear revenge.
Nuclear revenge. Oh god, it goes even further.
Oh yeah, there's all sorts of r/.
Powerful. Well, yeah, I knew that, but I didn't know there was like multiple tiers.
Oh yeah, this one. I watched.
People love a good revenge.
I watched some r/ nuclear revenge, and see that's the thing is I'd read a little bit of them to make sure they weren't like too crazy either. I actually printed one story I did know, just because I knew it was a good story.
Sure.
The rest of them I don't. But I was listening to r/Nuclear Revenge last night, and while you were sleeping.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool.
And there was a story
often.
about a
I do sleep
dude
a lot.
that wouldn't maintain his yard, and he lived with an HOA.
Oh, okay.
And a homeowners association.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't know. And they kept calling like landscapers to fix his yard, and then footing him the bill. And he'd be like, "Don't do that. I don't want you to do that." He'd like talk to them multiple occasions to not call them, and then he started waiting until they were like till he was gone to call the people, and then still foot him the bill. And so eventually he killed all of his grass and his bushes so that they couldn't keep them maintained.
Oh, hell yeah.
So then they were like, "You can't do that." And so like they ended up going to small claims over it or something like that, and they like took all of his money, like they won, and they like basically ruined his life. He had to like go to California and like escape for a while.
Jesus.
And then he came back with a bunch of guns and killed 3 of them and wounded 5 more.
Oh boy. Okay, that took a turn.
Yeah.
That's
nuclear revenge.
That's nuclear. Okay, so we're not going that
I'm
far.
not on nuclear revenge. I'm on pro-revenge.
We're not going that far. So
No.
this is not going to be like, and then he fucking ate their family.
Yes.
And it's like,
That's nuclear revenge.
Okay.
And
Jeez.
then the guy was like, "Wow, that's not even revenge. That's just ooh."
That's just
And I was like, "No, that counts as revenge."
Well, okay, it is revenge.
Like, is it cool?
Yeah.
Nah. Like, is it revenge? Yeah.
It's like that.
But also, like, they like left links to like the news stories and stuff, so it's a totally real story. Like, it happened.
There is a story. Don't let me forget, because if we have time at the end of your stories, there's a revenge story that I'm really fond of that I want to go dig up, and maybe we'll be able to read.
But I figured I'd read these. This is just pro-revenge, so it's nothing too crazy.
Yeah, probably no murder. I won't say for certain. So if that's something.
No, I don't think any of you have murder.
Okay, good. Then no murder content warning.
Okay, so I'll be reading from this.
Except for before.
Yeah, except for the one time.
Whoops.
And hopefully I won't stumble over all of these like I do usually when I'm reading.
You'll be fine.
Don't mind me if I do.
I believe in you.
So okay, story 1. This one was titled, "You won't pick up your dog's shit and then steal from me." Pick up then. Or move out then.
Okay. I get that. These titles have a gist. There's like a gist to the story. Okay.
Okay, so they say, and does it say who this is by? Because sometimes they give their little names.
Yeah, like the account name or whatever.
Yeah, they're usually throwaways, but still.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Does it say? Nope, not on here. Okay.
Okay.
So, they say, "I posted this on r/entitled parents, and more than one person suggested that I also post it for you lovely people here. So, it's quite long, I do apologize. So this happened at the last apartment complex I lived in. So, sorry it's so long. My significant other and I were renting a ground floor unit at a really nice apartment complex. I wouldn't say it was a luxury apartment or anything, but our ground floor unit had a little patio off the back that led out to a really nice courtyard area with hammocks, a walking path, outdoor fireplace, and a seating area, etc. A lot of people walk their dogs out there and let their kids play in the grass, including us. We have a 1-year-old Cane Corso. Cane Corso? It's a dog. We got her when we'd been living in the unit for about 2.5 months, and she was only 8 weeks at the time. She's a really good dog, and we trained her well. We could let her out to go potty, and she'd come back at night, or she'd come right back, even if there were distractions or people or dogs. We always stood on the patio and watched her anyways, because our pet agreement said that we couldn't leave our dog out unattended. Then we'd go to pick her up and get her poop, like right away. So if she pooped, also part of the agreement. I'm sure this is standard in most apartment complexes. We'd keep a small trash can outside, specifically for her poop and the bags, because we didn't want to throw them away inside.
Yeah, I could see that getting nasty.
And they didn't want to throw them out in the other trash cans that were near the building, which I agree is dumb. But they had to get their own. It was a really small trash can, like the kind you tuck into the bathroom between the toilet and the wall. We also had a poop bag hanging on the patio door handle for easy access, so we didn't have to hunt for them every time we needed them. This lady and her kid moved into the ground floor of our building, 2 units down from us, no biggie. We ran into her one day carrying groceries, and so my significant other helped her open her door. She seemed kind of Karenish, but was polite, and her kid was probably 10 to 11 years old. They never looked up from their phone when they were helping. So, whatever, pretty typical of kids these days. They also had a dog, a little black and white fluffy thing, super cute but not trained very well. Don't know what kind of dog it was, but it was much smaller than our already giant puppy. After about 2 weeks or so, we realized that there were dog turds in the grass right off our patio. We found out the hard way because my boyfriend stepped in one the first time.
Oh.
Luckily, he wasn't barefoot. They were clearly not our dog. They were clearly not our dog's turds. 1, we always picked up her poop right after she went, and 2, they were very obviously from a small dog, not our 70-pound puppy.
Sure.
We'd been in the apartment for about 7 to 8 months at the point, and had never really had an issue. So we figured it must be EM's little dog, which is entitled Mother.
Oh, that's her coding. All right, here we go.
I wrote her a polite note that basically was like, "Hey neighbor, we noticed that some of your dog's poops aren't being picked up, and they're right off our patio. Per the pet agreement we all have to sign, we will be needing you to pick up your own dog's poop each time they go. I'm sure it was an accident, but you probably didn't notice. So if you can make sure to do that from now on, we'd appreciate it. Your neighbors in unit number whatever."
Right.
Next page.
And this is the part where it gets spicy.
As it always does.
The booklet has been destroyed.
Yeah. I couldn't get to the next page, so. She wasn't home, so I slipped it under her door and went back to my apartment. A couple of hours later, this lady came banging at my door and getting really angry with me.
Oh no.
She insists that it couldn't have been of her dog. She insists that it couldn't have been her dog, and how dare I assume that it was. I felt really bad and apologized immediately. I said I didn't mean to offend her, and that it must have been somebody else. She told me to never bother her with that crap again, and stormed off. I was like, okay. Near 3 days later, I was sitting on my patio with a book, enjoying the cool weather, when I see their little dog run out their back door. No one with it, and it came over to me. I said hello, because I love puppies, and then it took a shit right off my patio.
Oh my god.
It ran back home and scratched the door to be let in. I saw the kid slide the door open enough to let the dog in, and then close it again without coming outside to pick up the poop. I was annoyed because I saw it with my own eyes that it was their dog, and no one was even watching it while it was outside. So I grabbed the poop bag, picked up the poop, wrote another less polite note about their kid neglecting to watch the dog, and that they should be checking on it and coming to pick the poop up after it. Dropped the poop and the bag and the note on the patio right by their door.
Oh boy. Okay,
and then went back to my reading.
We're bringing the whole poop over.
Uh-huh.
Leaving you a little present.
Well, it's his poop.
That's true.
EM was quicker to come by this time and stomped right up to me.
Oh yeah, she's at home. She's not doing anything.
Waving the note around. Then stated that her kid was just a kid and probably forgot to check. I said I didn't care. Her kid was old enough to stand outside for 3 minutes and come pick up the dog's poop. She said, well, there's no poop bags or trash cans on this side of the building, and she didn't feel comfortable making her kid walk all the way around the building for that. The next part was my own fault in hindsight. I suggested she put the trash can, like mine, on her patio and leave their poop bags around and handy, like we do for our dog. She eyed our stuff, huffed some more, rolled her eyes, refused to do anything about the poop, and then walked off. At this point, I was super annoyed. I stalked my patio door for the next couple of days as much as I could, just waiting. And sure enough, on day 2, in the evening, when I was about to give up, I see the puppy run outside towards my patio.
Oh boy.
I whipped out my phone, took some pictures of the dog outside, which alone, which is not allowed, and the dog pooping, and then took another phone an hour later.
Photo, probably.
Yeah, of the poop still there, and as time stamped all of them. I sent an email to the apartment office people who were pretty nice, and they responded quickly that they would give her a warning about it. And sure enough, this lady comes back again.
Oh God.
To get you mad and yell at me about how petty it was for me to report her to the office. Now they had a $150 fine for not picking up their dog's poop. It's worth noting that these fines were rare. Poo prints were not used at this complex. Poop prints.
I don't know what that is.
I'm not sure what that is. In order for the office to find someone for dog poop, they had to have proof of it. Okay, so like they couldn't just take somebody's like word that they had been pooping. They had to have proof.
Oh, I see.
It was they had to have proof that it was the specific tenant's dog's poop and that it wasn't picked up. Hence the photos I'd taken before. I told her that I tried to be nice with her twice before it was her own fault,
Mm-hmm.
and for not abiding by the terms of the pet agreement that we all had to sign. Everyone who had a dog, at least. She went off about how she's a single mom and she works during the day, and her precious baby can be expected to pick up after the dog. I told her that a 10 to 11-year-old was plenty old enough to pick up after a dog, and that if they weren't responsible enough, then maybe the kid shouldn't be letting the dog out at all, and she should be the one to do it, or maybe whoever is home with him should be looking after it. She got angry, and she told me that I had no idea how to be a single mom, and that her mom stays with him during the day, and shouldn't be told or expected to look after the kid and the dog, and then stomped off again. I expected to hear more about it, but I didn't. The ironic part is that I am a single mom.
Oh, jeez.
my kid isn't my significant other's, and I raised him alone for 2.5 years before I met my significant other. So yes, I do know how hard it is to live 1,000 miles away from my closest family. So I never even had the luxury of being able to have my mom watch my kid. Over the next couple of weeks, we didn't find any dog turds off. Over the next couple of weeks, we didn't find any dog turds off our patio. We did notice that our poop bags were depleting and our trash can was filling up more quickly than usual, though. I had my suspicions.
Oh my god.
And I wanted to test it. We had recently bought a small security camera for inside of our apartment for different reasons, and I had my boyfriend set one up outside on the patio. We faced it where we could see our door and our trash can, but didn't point at the rest of the courtyard for other people's units. We respect people's privacy around here. Sure enough, the same evening my boyfriend set it up, I see the kid walk onto our patio, take the dog poop bag,
kid.
The girl's kid, the lady's kid.
Yeah.
Walk out of frame, and then come back to throw it in our trash can. Okay, now I'm pissed.
Yeah.
But also not trying to fight this lady or her kid. So I moved the poop bags to the inside of the door handle. It's a glass door, so you can still see them, but we always lock our sliding door. Ooh. The next morning, I hear someone knocking on our back patio door, and I go to see the kid standing there looking annoyed. I don't open the door, I just spoke loudly enough and asked what he needed. He demanded a poop bag for his dog's poop. I said, I'm sorry, but these are our dog's poop bags for our dog. They weren't free for anyone else to use. The apartment provides poop bags in a dispenser near the trash on the other side of the building. The kid started demanding a poop bag, saying that his mom told him he could use ours.
Oh, yeah. Okay, here we go.
He slapped his hands on the glass a few times, trying to scare me. Yes, I'm so terrified of a 10-year-old boy. And finally, screaming at me and telling me that he's going to tell his mother on me. I said, fine, go ahead, I'll tell her the same fucking thing. Sure enough, a few minutes later, his mom is standing at my patio, also demanding a poop bag for her dog's poop. I denied her a bag and asked her to please step off my patio as she was making me feel unsafe and uncomfortable. My significant other wasn't home. She told me I was a bratty child, I'm 24, and she demanded that I let her use my poop bags as I had already told her she could before. I said, no, I told you to get some yourself and do what I do. Keep them close by and put your own trash on your own patio, not use my bags that I buy with my own money for my dog and then fill up my trash can with your dog's poop. I pointed out that she could use a plastic shopping bag if she didn't want to buy her own poop bags, or she could use the bag the complex provided on the other side of the building. She kept going off on me, and I finally told her that if she didn't leave my patio, I'd call the police, as she was harassing me. The apartment office was closed on Sundays, and of course it was Sunday. She acted like she was going to call my bluff, but then my boyfriend got home and walked up behind me to ask what was going on, and she ended up dragging her kid away, again, leaving the poop in the grass off my patio.
Jesus.
So once she was gone, I took another timestamp picture of the dog poop, downloaded the footage from my security camera of her kids stealing my poop bags and throwing them in my trash can, and the footage of them that morning yelling at me and demanding my poop bags and me denying them, and emailed them all to the apartment management. I told them that she made me feel unsafe and uncomfortable in my own home, and that she and her child felt entitled to come onto my patio and take my belongings. I also went outside and picked up her dog's poop, looked in the trash can on my patio, and pulled out the bags with their dog's poop. They were significantly smaller than my dog's poops.
Oh,
As I'm sure any owner could tell the difference of the poop of a 12-pound dog versus a 20-pound dog.
right.
Lots of poop.
It's a very poop-filled story.
I went and opened all the bags and dumped the poops onto her patio outside the door.
Yes, that's karma, baby.
On Monday, I heard back from the office lady who said she would take care of it. By Friday, there was a moving truck and the lady and her kid were moving out. Pretty sure they were evicted at the very least, or at the very least urged to move, instead of a formal eviction process was ignited. Before taking, and after taking some of our other much friendlier neighbors, after talking to some of our other much friendlier neighbors, it turns out that we weren't the only ones who had been complaining about her. They'd only lived in the complex for like 2 or 3 months before they were making other enemies and were actually kicked out. Sometimes
Jesus.
I think I should feel bad for playing a part in getting her evicted, but honestly I can't bring myself to feel guilty about it. Not my fault. She was lazy and an entitled bitch who couldn't even be asked. Who couldn't be asked to get a shopping bag to pick up her own dog's shit.
Be asked, you know.
I never heard from her or about the turds that I dropped on her patio, but I like to think that she stepped in them without looking and never knew better to come back to bitch to me about it. Sorry, not sorry. Also, I'm sure they were given more than a week to vacate, as those are the tenancy laws, but she sure packed up and left like a bat out of hell. Guess she didn't want to stay somewhere she clearly wasn't wanted, and was clearly seen as an enemy. I don't know for sure, but I don't know for sure that she was evicted or if she was just asked to leave or abide by the lease or whatever. The office can't give out that type of info to me, and I wasn't really expecting to get it. Me and the lady weren't exactly on speaking terms, so I couldn't get the scoop about it. The end.
Jesus. That's so like white collar suburban fucking problems.
Well, that's the thing is most of these stories are like about HOAs and like most of the revenge things end up being like I'm calling the police.
Yeah, it's real. Huh? Jeez, it's real suburban white people shit. It's like absolutely. That's the thing is that like I mean clearly the neighbor was a fucking idiot.
Oh yeah. Well, that's the thing is, it's completely believable.
She definitely deserves to have dog shit dropped on her lawn because, like, it's common decency. Just like be like, don't be a shithead. It's just like it's really just don't be a shithead.
But so many people are shitheads.
I can't see the urge. I can't see the desire. Like why?
I can't see people being that fucking like just full of themselves or like.
Oh yeah, I don't get it.
That they like deserve other people's things or like people need to act a specific way for them. Like it's stupid. Like
it evolved out of pettiness. Like
the audacity.
Yeah. Oh yeah. She was told to do one thing and she didn't want to do it, so it became a game for her to continue to like level up the petty as much as she could, because she doesn't like being told to do one thing. Like just be a person.
Karens.
Yeah. It's large Karen energy. Gargantuan Karen energy.
I don't have this story written down, but I also remember there was a story about it was in a woman's bathroom.
Okay.
And there was like a woman who was in the bathroom using it. That's the person that wrote the story. There was another person in there who had her child, and he was like a 10-year-old boy.
Sure.
That she brought into the women's room with her.
Right.
It's like I get it. I guess if you don't really want to be bringing him in or like letting him go into the men's room on his own, or like abandoning him, but like honestly, like that's a little too old to be going in the women's room.
Yeah.
But whatever. But also he was like peeking under women's stalls.
Yeah, see when you're a 10-year-old kid, it's like if you're a 1 or a 2-year-old, like that's cute.
Yeah.
If you're a 10-year-old, it's like, buddy.
Well, that's the thing. I've even like seen like up to age 4 do it because they don't know what the fuck they're
they
doing.
don't know what's going on. Like, that's fine.
But if you're 10, yeah.
It's like, dude, don't do that.
There were like women like yelling at him and telling him to stop and telling him he's too old for this shit and stuff. But like the mom was like just doing whatever she was doing and not like watching him or just not caring.
Right.
And so the person that was writing the story was like changing her tampon. And so she could see the boy coming, like she was in the stall, he was like peeking in the stall next to hers, and he knew he was going to come into the stall like of hers.
Right.
And so she's like, she got into like a defensive position because she really didn't want him to see her, obviously.
Right, of course.
And she was like, "Hey kid, if you look into my stall, I will kick you in the face." And he looked in the stall and she kicked him in the face.
I mean, she warned him.
So he like starts screaming like a banshee because he got kicked in the face.
Yeah.
And so the woman's like, "What did you do?" And she's like slamming on the stall, and she was just ignoring her, and she finished doing what she was doing, and then she opened it, and the mom was like, "Why did you kick my son?" Like, she's like, "I told him that he was gonna, if he looked in my stall, I was kicking him in the face. That's why I kicked him in the face."
Right.
And she's like, "Well, he's just a little boy," and blah 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 blah. And she's like, "Well, I'm sorry, I don't want to expose myself to a young man.
Yeah.
Like, that's not appropriate."
Yeah, he's a 10-year-old boy.
And she's like, "I'm calling the police." And then she like stormed out, like a bunch of other women like ganged up on her. Yeah,
he's like a 4th or 5th grader. Like, dude.
Yeah. Like, no, she like stormed out with the kid
like,
because all the girls in the bathroom ganged up on her. And then, like, I'm assuming she didn't call the police. No one got in trouble. But
yeah, but that's the thing is that that's totally fine. Like, if you're a family and you gotta like keep your eye on people when they go into the bathroom, it's like you bring people in your kids in, and that's fine. But like your kid,
no, there are some horror stories about
your child
your
needs to behave themselves. Yeah. Like if your 10-year-old child can't behave themselves, then...
Well, I could imagine why you might want to bring your kid into the bathroom, because I've heard stories about, like, letting a young boy go to the bathroom on his own, and then, like, they get murdered.
Oh, shit, yeah, okay, yep.
So, like, I could imagine wanting to bring your child, like, potentially even at that age, into the women's bathroom with you.
Of course.
But fucking watch him. Like, no, if that was my kid, I would have kicked him in the face.
Yeah.
Not really, but like I would have been like, if he got kicked in the face by someone else, I'd be like, well.
Yeah, it's like, buddy, don't do that. Like, you still have the same boundary of like respect put on you. You have to
absolutely not respectful. Like, I would just thankfully I'd be like, yep, sorry. He's I don't know what the fuck he was thinking.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd even get to that point because I wouldn't let it, but.
Right, exactly.
If it got to the point where he was looking under someone's stall...
it just seemed like the mother didn't really seem to give a shit.
Well, because sometimes people are just awful. Anyway, this one is called Be a Racist and Lie to Your Neighbors? Welcome to Eviction, Population U.
Oh, boy. I can already tell this person's gonna suck ass.
Okay, I'll share another revenge. I'm only vengeful when someone deserves it, and it isn't usually often, so I'll share this one that I did from 2011. Anyone who's already seen my posts know that I used to work as a private security. Not mall cops, but highly trained and skilled and armed security. We worked residential buildings and complexes that were very high-end, like 200,000 cars in the parking garages, high-end. No places like this are Karen Central.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Imagine apartments full of Karens and entitled teenagers. Now the company's owner was awesome. A cop at his regular job, he understood what I faced. His advice was to be nice and put the hammer down if you have to, but don't take their shit. Also, that if we didn't get at least 2 complaints a month, God damn it. Also, that if we didn't get 2 complaints at a month about us for worthless shit, that we weren't doing our job right.
Okay.
Well, because it's Karen's, so it's like...
Okay, yeah, right.
So this is important to the revenge. Each supervisor had 10 to 15 properties under their control. Regular officers patrolled them, but we were in charge of helping with evictions, attending town halls, being on security issues, deciding how often officer patrols should be going, or updating what areas are being a problem and need to be checked. We had 12. Or he had 12. Now, in this one apartment complex, we had a couple always calling us. We had an emergency line open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Or 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., I guess. Okay, sorry. When we get there, they cry about their upstairs neighbor. It was a list of things that they just, changed. No, this one's confusing.
Okay.
That
We're doing it live, folks.
Yeah, we're doing it live. Sorry, I'm on medication. It was a list of things that they were complaining about. Stomping, music, talking, cooking, smells, their dog going number one on the balcony and it dripping onto others. Blech.
Ooh.
All valid complaints if we found the evidence, but we never did. When they seen we were starting to question if they were actually real, they changed their tactics and went racist.
Oh boy.
The couple above them were sweet and wonderful middle-aged Asians. They were a couple. The husband was an immigrant, but his wife was born and raised American. These racist cretins had only talked to the husband, so they assumed that they were, as all racists do, that they were both immigrants. So the white sheet-wearing couple started making comments like, "Those Asians," and "They're in America, why can't they cook American food?" and "I'm afraid to be in a parking garage when one of them is driving in it." Yeah.
Oh, God. Fuck that.
When it angered me,
I hope this one ends in murder.
While it angered me, yeah, right, those comments weren't enough alone for an eviction. Only thing I could do was have my officers put exact phrasing in the report. I did ask property managers about the comments and said that if they didn't say them to the residents, and the residents didn't complain, that there wasn't much she could do. So I tried to think of some way to get them evicted. Not only were they lying to get a couple evicted, but they were calling in false things and wasting officer time to respond. They didn't call us just every once in a while. They called sometimes twice in one night, usually 5 to 8 times a week.
Jesus.
So a month later, the opportunity was handed to me. The Asian couple called me during the day and informed me that they were going out of the country to China for 2 weeks and no one would be in their apartment. They told me this just in case the other couple started complaining so I would know that they were lying, and asked to check on their door once at night to make sure it was locked and no one broke in. I informed them not to tell their neighbor, and none of them that they were leaving besides myself and only the property manager. I had a patrol meeting that night. Officers don't work one specific region, so I told them all my plan. I wanted them to respond each time they call and write down exactly what they said happened, and also any racial terms, no matter how minor. Mark the report urgent and send it all out. We had an online system for business. Email, schedules, report submitting, you get the idea. So anyway, we go. During these 14 days, they compiled 18 times.
Complained 18 times? Yeah.
They compiled 18 complaints.
Oh, I see.
Everything was documented, and I took it to the manager. She looked it over and and said, "Let's evict them."
Let's get them the fuck out.
Side note, the client gets charged more emergency response than they do for regular patrols, meaning their lives were costing money. So there was no HOA because these were rentals. In this situation, myself, the property manager, and the tenants sit down at the table. The charges for eviction are read. In the eviction of security related, if this eviction of security related, then I say that.
What? That doesn't make any sense.
I don't know.
Reddit users.
Yeah.
Spell check, everybody.
Then they say, what violations have been broken? Okay, whatever. During the thing, they asked what violations had been broken.
Sure.
Just fact-based reports, which tenants get a copy of. And then the tenants have to ask and speak and ask questions. Okay, so they had to read them what the violations were, just given on a paper. Only fact-based reports. Gotcha. Then they get a copy. And they have the right to speak and ask questions.
I see. Okay.
As to why they're being evicted.
Right.
Sorry, guys.
So basically, by this point, the family who did the false reports, like, they know they're being evicted.
They were served an eviction notice.
Okay.
And then they got a meeting on the eviction.
Got you. So you're gonna just like.
That's what they were trying to convey. There's probably like a typo somewhere that made that just scramble in my mind.
Sure.
But then the manager gets to decide what happens next, whether they get to stay or they go. So they were sent a formal So they were sent a formal letter stating that they were facing eviction at 10 days, and they had to set up a meeting. If no eviction was going to, if not, the eviction was going to be processed. So if they don't go to this meeting, they get evicted. Anyway, they set one up. I get there, and the asshole couple and the manager are already present. The wife immediately digs into me because I was armed. Uniforms for those situations are a dress shirt, slacks, tie, one weapon, and one magazine. The PS,
really? That seems excessive.
I guess. That is excessive, but I mean, if that's what you're told.
Yeah, I guess that's how it is. Well, I mean, that's yeah, okay.
The PS elections that can be dangerous. Things like elections can be dangerous? I don't know. It seems like there's a few random sentences in here that don't really make sense. I just politely informed her that it was my uniform and not her call to make.
Oh, so this person is like a homeowner's officer or something like that, yes. Like an emergency officer. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I was fully aware of that, but okay.
Yeah. She tried to say that she felt uncomfortable and wanted to reschedule, but the manager said that what happens now will happen later, and if she has to do it later, they will evict you. So they agreed to continue. Now, for legal reasons, these sessions were recorded by video. That way the tenant can't lie in eviction court or sue. In front of me were all 18 reports, and we went over each one. Time, date, who called, the apartment number. I also read out each line, telling them to tell me what they feel is false and what is true. The only thing they said the only thing they said weren't true were the racial terms.
Of course.
At the end of each report, I basically said the report is accurate, and the fact that the tenants in apartment XYZ were playing their music too loud, but you're claiming that the comments about their race are false. I got a yes to the answer every time. I don't know if that made sense. Basically, what they were trying to say was he was asking, so the racial things aren't
after
true.
Every single one's like, okay, so you using racist terms was false, but you saying this thing, music loud was and they true. Clearly don't know that their neighbors haven't been home for 2 weeks.
Yes.
Okay.
They answered yes every time.
Yeah. Of course it's real. Totally.
About the 7th one, I think the wife caught on, so they started complaining that I was dragging it out. I just smiled politely and reminded her that this was my time and that it's an ample opportunity for her to object. It was an ample opportunity for her to object and ask me any questions, but only after I was done, and then went through the rest of them and let them build a defense. Then, after I was done getting them to admit to the lies, I informed them that the tenants in said apartment were actually out of the country at the time, and those 18 reports that the tenants provided were proof that they were gone, and my officers checked the apartment one time every night, confirming they were still gone. Then I smiled pleasantly and ended my part. But the look on their faces was a mix of anger and fear.
It's like, yeah, you guys fucked up.
They didn't have a defense, basically saying myself and the manager were choosing immigrants over Americans.
Oh, God.
Oh, did I mention the manager's an immigrant?
Yeah, I mean...
That went over like a hand grenade in a collection plate. Once they said it, she stopped it and told them who she was. That made matters worse, because they said she was just taking up for her own kind.
Her own... Oh, God.
During this...
I hate that shit so much.
During this, I'm calm and collected. Inside my mind, I'm thinking, oh, shit. After a few more racial remarks to the manager, they just stopped them and said, guilty, and that she would process their eviction paperwork and send it to the court in the morning. Long story short, they were given 14 days. From what I heard, the judge gave them 30 until they called him a racial name.
Cool.
I was about to call the nice Asian couple and let them know that it was over and they didn't have to worry because we would no longer respond to their calls in the apartment for the next 14 days until the eviction came through and that the bad tenants left. But they were welcome to call anytime if they needed help or had an issue. Security officers want to help out so bad, but are limited by laws, property management rules, or both. So it's nice to do some good. Update. Thanks for the awards, everyone.
Oh, nice.
I debated even posting this, and I didn't expect it to blow up like it has.
Jesus. Well, so I mean, I kind of wish more revenge was given. They kind of just got kicked out. They didn't
Yeah.
really have an opportunity to like fix their bullshit. Which, like, I mean, you can't. It's hard to teach an old racist new tricks. They usually just are very set in their ways, which
Especially
is
if they're rich and they're entitled.
yeah, exactly. Well, I hope that one of them like broke a fingernail rolling up their no steppy snake flag or something like that. That'd be a little karmic justice for me.
Yeah, sorry for the stammering on some of those, you guys. That one was a little.
Well, see that's part of the fun of just like ripping something raw from Reddit and being let's explore this together. Is that people on Reddit sometimes don't type
do
so
that too
good.
good.
Sometimes they don't type.
That
too
mixed
good.
with my dyslexia is a little red.
We got there.
We got there. We got there.
Yeah, we understood.
The next one should probably be a little bit better, but it is written by a. I think it's written by like a 17-year-old boy. So.
Oh, interesting. Okay. We'll compare the grammar and see how good today's youth are at posting.
See if they're better than security guards at writing a paper.
This is the official judgment on whether or not that's fact. Yeah.
This one's called Fairly Aggressive, in quotes. Girlfriend stole from my bank account, so I sent her academic career into the nosedive.
This one could be a little bit controversial. Okay.
Why is it spicy?
Why is it spicy?
Okay. I'm a senior at a large state university. This happened in the first semester of my freshman year. Okay, so he's not 17. I was selected for an honors type program that placed me in a co-ed dorm building with every other student in the program. As a dumb freshman, I rushed into a relationship with a freshman girl who lived right above me. Let's call her Megan. It was convenient for me to date someone who lived so close, but everyone else in our building hated Megan because she talked a lot and almost exclusively about herself. She bragged often about being a fairly aggressive person, but somehow I overlooked that mile-wide red flag. Right after Thanksgiving break, at the end of the evening class, I got a call from my mom who noticed some unusual activity in my checking account. Back then I had no credit card, so this account had a debit card, and it was my only access to my savings while I lived on campus.
Okay.
I rarely needed to buy anything during the semester, so I was puzzled to find out that $104.29 had left my bank account over 2 weeks, in the form of 6 Grubhub food orders.
Oh, okay.
At this point, I trusted Megan, but I decided to ask her about the money right away. She denied any involvement and suggested that I cancel my debit card. After a really long phone call to the bank, I did just that. Next, I reached out to Grubhub customer service on Twitter. Hey, my card was stolen and used for food orders on these dates. Can I have the receipts? They sent me the first and the last receipts, but they had to redact the personal info on the account order. I say redact in quotes because they just used Snapchat draw tool, and Megan's name was clearly visible on both receipts. What's more, the most recent receipt was only 2 hours old.
Oh shit.
She was probably still eating when I chopped up my debit card. It's worth noting that she and I both had unlimited dining plans, paid for by our prospective parents, and we lived 500 feet from the nearest dining hall. She didn't need to order food, and she definitely didn't need my money to do it. So I texted her again. I have the receipts from Grubhub. Are you sure you didn't make those orders? Her reply, fuck you for suspecting me.
Oh, yeah, here we go. That's when you know.
Fairly aggressive, wouldn't you say? I hatched a plan to collect security camera footage of her picking up the order for the evening. However, by midnight, Megan arrived at my door in tears and confessed to everything. Plus, she admitted to being a serial shoplifter.
Okay, it's like, hey, on top of it, I also
steal other stuff.
Yeah.
Exhausted.
At least she came clean.
Exhausted. I sent her away and decided to deal with everything in the morning. By the next day, everyone in our building seemed to know what was going down, probably because Megan had already begun broadcasting her version of the story.
Oh, that's iffy.
I sent Megan a breakup text and decided that $104 was a loss. At least I escaped unscathed, right? Well, at least 2 days later, she entered my room when I wasn't looking. I was sitting at my desk when I noticed her standing silently behind me.
Ugh.
Megan says, "Give me my stuff. Where's my stuff?" Me, "What stuff?" Megan, "You know." I do not know. She tore through the room looking for something that she refused to identify. Just as quick as she came, she was gone, and I locked the door because obviously this wasn't over yet. Within a minute, she was back. She stood outside my door, knocking and demanding I let her inside. The knocking quickly got more violent. She started shouting, "I know you're fucking in there, and open the door, motherfucker!"
Oh my god.
Mind that, we lived in this building with students in our program who all know each other, and all of them could hear her. Pretty quickly, Megan was rattling the handle of my door. Next, she began throwing herself at it, shoulder first, trying to break it down.
Ooh, buddy.
I lived next door to my RA, but judging by the lack of any intervention, he was somewhere else.
Fuck.
So I whipped out my phone and
Never
texted him to
intervene.
send backup. Meanwhile, I saw my heavy wooden door bending and buckling. I even heard it crack once.
The only thing the RAs ever do is steal your whiskey.
My RA was on duty in another building, so he sent 3 of his colleagues to de-escalate the situation. They brought Megan downstairs, where she revealed that the stuff she wanted was just a t-shirt and a keychain that she gave me for my birthday. Whatever. I let her have those. I still just wanted this to be over. However, once I shared my story to the resident life staff, they filled university paperwork to place a no contact order between me and Megan. They also recommended that I contact the campus police, who then told me I should get my stolen money back in small claims court. I couldn't even get there without a car or money to pay for an Uber. Sorry, Judge Judy.
Oh, it could have been on Judge Judy.
Yeah. At the request of the campus police, I also contacted the Title 9? Whatever.
Yeah, probably.
Office at my school, sending them the story of everything that you've read so far. They were interested, to say the least, although I didn't want any trouble. I just wanted a clean breakup and a fresh start. But the Title 9 representatives informed me that they were bringing 3 misconduct charges against Megan: theft, threatening violent behavior, and inciting an intervention by university staff. The representative asked me to serve as a witness in Megan's disciplinary hearing next semester. I tentatively agreed, right before the representative set the hearing date for February 14th.
For Valentine's Day? Oh, God.
I thought it was a joke.
Drama.
But they really did that.
Foresight, people. Foresight.
When the day of the hearing finally arrived, the no contact order was still in effect, but a few of my friends kept tabs on Megan. For starters, she failed all of her classes in the fall. Someone in my math course confessed that Megan had tried to sleep with him while she was dating me, and that he had to repeatedly tell her no. Even worse, Megan kept telling a twisted version of the whole story to try and turn my friends against me. So when I found out that she had found a new boyfriend, it felt good to know that the Valentine's Day disciplinary hearing ruined whatever evening plans they might have made. I arrived alone to the disciplinary board office, unsure of what to expect. The board consisted of grad students, and the hearing was expected to run into the night. Unlike me, Megan did not come alone. She brought both of her parents as character witnesses.
Character. Oh, yeah.
That wasn't even...
I don't have a regular witness, but I have my mommy to tell me that I'm a good girl.
That wasn't even a thing here.
Oh, God.
That wasn't even this isn't even a real courtroom.
Right.
As you'll soon see. And that's not all. Megan's parents also paid a lawyer to defend her against the charges.
What?
The board knew that this was unnecessary, but Megan's parents believed so strongly in their daughter's innocence that they had already paid a 3-piece suit to make her case. In the name of fairness, the board members offered me a pro bono legal representation, a junior economics major who we'll call Jimmy. Jimmy had already read my account of all the events from the fall, and thanks to my screenshots of the Grubhub receipts, he said there was an okay shot of the charges sticking. Then I told him something I'd kept secret for months. When Megan tried to break down my door, I whipped out my phone to text my RA, but I also filmed the whole thing.
Oh. Oh, boy.
Jimmy couldn't get enough of this video. There was Megan, kicking and screaming and clearly trying to break into my room. It was all the evidence I needed, and no one saw it coming. In the hearing, when the time came for them to make the case against Megan, Jimmy played the video on a big screen in front of everyone. The room went insane.
Jesus.
In that instance, I realized that Megan really had convinced everyone I was a liar. In her version of the story, I already gave her permission to buy food using my account. She told her parents that she'd asked me politely for her belongings, which I'd rudely hidden from her in my dorm room. In Megan's story, I was the psychopath trying to ruin her reputation. Before I unveiled the video, it was. Then it was before it was her word against mine. I still didn't want revenge, even after finding out that Megan tried to cheat on me. But when I saw her parents flipping out at the video, why didn't you tell us you did this? And her lawyer raising hell. This evidence was not provided in the pre-trial disclosure. And the board member standing over him, Sir, this is not a court of law. Please return to your seat.
Yeah. It doesn't work that way.
And him shouting, objection. And her replying, we don't have objections. This isn't a court of law.
Why would you hire a lawyer for this?
And Jimmy, my new best friend,
that's real white people
just
shit.
trying not to laugh out loud. And that's when I realized how good revenge can feel when it's fair and deserved. The board found Megan responsible on all pre-charges. My side of the bench recommended that the university terminate her housing contract and forced her to pay restitution. Her side recommended only restitution and reprimand. The board compromised. Her family paid back most of the money she stole. Most, because 2 of the 6 orders had the same price, and the lawyer conceived the board that I had duplicated the order. And Megan was forced to move into a different building from mine. This probably would have helped her anyway, because every student in our program building knew that everything she'd done and lied about.
Jesus.
They wouldn't speak to her, and no one wanted to be her roommate. By the time she had to move buildings, she'd already failed all of her courses again.
So did she just, like, after all this happened, did she just, like, straight up give up on school? Like, she was like, fuck it?
It's like she just gave up on life, I guess. I don't know.
But it's like, dude, why?
She seems problematic.
I mean, clearly, but also, like, what the fuck? And also, like another vaguely related thing, like, why do entitled white people use cops and lawyers as the customer service line for life? Like, you brought a lawyer
because they can.
I know,
they have money for it.
It's so stupid.
Having paid her tuition, her unused dining plan, her lawyer, and her restitution, Megan's parents finally pulled her out of school. Where are they now? Last I heard, Megan returned into a part-time student, but I never saw her again because the no-contact order still stands. I'm now Facebook friends with a guy Megan tried to seduce. Oh, and Jimmy and I connected on LinkedIn.
Nice.
As for me, well, I no longer date fairly aggressive people.
I've changed my type, I guess. Huh. That's I definitely felt like that story was maybe gonna go differently. I'm not. I don't know. That's like usually I'm like, oh, it's not really worth ruining. Like, unless it's something like egregious, like you commit like a violent act against a person, then it's like, okay, yeah, your whatever career or your schooling is probably over, and that's fair. At first, I'm just like, oh, she like stole money from you. That's not worth like sending her tuition into the toilet.
Mm-hmm.
But like that was a whole thing.
That was a mess.
That was a whole big thing. Yeah.
Well, not to mention,
and it seems like she has like her biggest problem is like she has like a crippling addiction to lying and shoplifting
and violence.
Well, and I mean also the violence, but like that kind of comes along with it. Like you're like pushed to the edge, and you're like, I really need to I really have to take this shit, and your brain just like you just don't think about what's going on around you. You're just like, I need to get the thing.
Well, either way,
not that it's an excuse, but it's like those things come hand in hand.
It didn't seem like he went after her.
Yeah, I don't think he even intended to do it on purpose. It was just kind of like a natural reaction to like.
Well, no, they just wanted to get his money back. And the only thing that she went through was a disciplinary proceeding, and they had to pay all the money back. The only reason that her fucking education went into a nosedive was because immediately after all of this nonsense, she failed classes for 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, also that.
That had nothing to do with him.
Yeah, so like I feel like honestly the way it was going down, like she probably would have just ended up having her academic career fucked up anyway. Like she just
Yeah,
seemed like
I
she
was gonna
stopped
say
trying.
the only thing that he ruined with her was her like social bullshit, but that she kind of did that herself. She lied to everybody and tried to make him into the victim, and then when the truth came out that she was actually fucking insane, nobody wanted to be near her, rightfully so. And so then they were like, "Well, we're not going to quit your schooling. We're just going to move you to a different building." But nobody wanted to see her anymore. So it was honestly for the better. And then she failed school for 2 fucking years, and then her parents pulled her. Like,
Right.
he didn't go after her fucking education. It was kind of her own doing.
That's fair enough. Yeah, I don't know. That whole situation was like way more of a mess than I assumed.
Yeah, but
Jeez.
anyway. This one, story number 3?
I think this is 4.
4?
I think this is the
4.
fourth story.
You're right. This one's called Teacher verbally abused suicidal classmate. Now
Oh,
everyone knows.
oh Jesus. This one's gonna really piss me off.
I can only imagine because Ken is a substitute teacher.
Yeah, I have a degree in high like secondary education as well. So like having worked in a classroom, this is exactly the kind of shit that just burns me up. But anyway, continue. I am prepared to be upset.
Okay. This was back when I was 17. I'm currently 20. I was in a class for forensics, and this teacher was notorious for making fun of students. I'll call her bitch teacher.
Okay.
Sounds right.
Apt.
To put this in perspective for how much I hate her, I got a pet cockroach and I named it after her.
Jesus.
In this class, she would have students take attendance by lining them up and having them answer a question at her desk before going to sit down. This is important for later. It's a weird way to take attendance.
That's a really annoying way to take attendance.
It started with things such as making fun of students who weren't in class to hear, poking fun at how they looked, their grades, their clothes, etc. Things slowly escalated as a year progressed to where she would mock my voice in front of everyone whenever I spoke. I also have a very growly voice because I used to get recurring scarlet fever for years, which permanently damaged my vocal cords. Said transgender people were a burden.
Oh God, yeah, I hate her.
We had a trans boy in the class, and that depression wasn't real.
Time for dead. Throw her in the wood chipper. We're doing this Fargo style.
At first, it was fine. It's not like she was saying anything I've never heard before from my shitty classmates about each other. But then comes in my classmate who I will call Small, because she's small.
Again, apt.
Small was quiet and very sweet. She was funny and always nice to everybody. But she had a really bad case of depression and anorexia. And she would be bullied a lot because her parents weren't the best. She often came to class smelling of her dad's chain smoking and an old hand-me-down clothes. Because bitch teacher would only encourage the bullying, Small eventually started cutting and wearing hoodies all the time to hide the cuts.
Jeez.
Everyone knew. It got to the point where 2 people would take advantage of her poor family and pay her to scratch words on her leg and arm in class with a safety pin. Bitch teacher did fuck all about it. And trust me, she knew. Fast forward a few weeks, and we all line up as usual. The question was, what's your favorite type of music? Me and Small came up. I answer, and I'm heading to my seat when Small quietly goes, I don't know, I don't really have one. To which, and I kid you fucking not, bitch teacher goes into full volume with a smile on her face and says, well, what kind of music doesn't make you want to slit your wrists? Wow.
Fuck you. Like, first of all, like, under no circumstances should she have her job.
No.
Period. Like, that's it. Like well before this, she like should have her like teaching license revoked. But like that by itself, were there nothing else, that should be it.
Absolutely.
Like, period. That should be it.
At this point, the entire class goes dead silent. She had gone too far. I mean, she already gone too far, but
right.
And Small immediately runs out of the class. Everyone's too shocked to know really what to do. She just moves on with class. I still wish I had gone to check on her. After that, I couldn't stand bitch teacher. I couldn't stand her existence. I couldn't stand looking at her smiling. I wanted to rip her smile off. Every time she breathed, I wanted to strangle her. I was done with this. I began secretly recording every time she made fun of us. I would record the entire class and crop out what I needed. And then one tiring month later, I emailed them all straight to the principal.
Fuck yeah.
Close to half an hour of this bitch making fun of everybody, making suicide jokes, etc. I fumed about how inappropriate and unacceptable this was, and I demanded justice. And holy shit, justice I got. Bitch teacher didn't show up for a few days, and when she came back, she had such a dead look in her eyes. Finally, no more of that goddamn smile. The principal calls us all together, and in front of everyone, her husband and the students and the staff, she was forced to formally apologize and make fun of a fucking suicidal 16-year-old. The look on her husband's face told me all I wanted. After this, I only ever needed to see her smoking alone and hated at the liquor store. The smile never came back. I know everyone.
Know what that meant, but okay.
I don't know either. I'm assuming she picked up smoking and drinking.
Oh, cool.
I never told anyone what I did, but everyone just knew, and a sense of overwhelming relief was very much welcomed in the class. Small started going to therapy, and we became pretty good friends. She got the help she needed and moved out of her family's home with her sister.
That's good.
And she developed much healthier coping mechanisms. Suicide is not a joke, and everyone who makes fun of someone even remotely entertaining the idea of suicide. This is what you deserve. To lose your job, lose your friends, lose your reputation, lose your husband, and a kid to name a fucking cockroach after you. And for those of you in MS or in HS dealing with bullying, a bad home life, or mental health problems, you can do this. Yeah. And I don't know. Some of y'all can't read, I guess. She was fired. Lose your job. And to clarify, on her husband, no, he wasn't called in from home. He was an algebra teacher.
Oh, jeez. Okay.
Yeah, that part was a little unclear, but apparently.
Yeah, that was. I didn't. I was about to literally ask, like, well, did she actually get fired?
She did lose her job.
I just think it's kind of crazy that, like, she was gone for a couple days and then came back for a little
she was gone for a few days.
I would have been like, get out.
She was gone for a few days, forced to come in and apologize to everybody with her husband.
Right.
And then lost her job, and then I guess picked up smoking and drinking. That's what he was saying. I literally just connected it. That was what he was saying about the smoking alone and drinking.
Right.
Is that
smoking alone?
All he needed to see was her in front of the package store drinking and smoking by herself.
Gotcha. Well, did her husband leave her too? That's what it implies.
I'm hoping.
Yeah. I mean, that's a kind of like that's child abuse. End of discussion, bar none.
Yeah.
Like, that is utterly irresponsible. And, like, under no circumstances should someone in the field of education, like, take, like, I get it. Like, people have their own shit and they have their daily frustrations. Do not take it out on teenagers.
If that's what gives you joy, crawl into a hole and die.
Yeah. She
I'm not afraid to joke about that.
Yeah, no, she 100%
because it's not a joke.
Yeah, she 100% deserved that. That was like, don't be a monster. It's not like
it's not hard.
It shouldn't be that hard to give that advice. But
I don't care how sad your life is. Just fucking suck it up.
Yeah,
don't bully kids.
Don't be an asshole.
Probably should put a trigger warning on this.
I was literally just about to say that too.
I meant to put one in before the story, but then I started reading the story, and then I was like, oh.
Yeah, we'll do it at the beginning of the video. We'll put a content warning in above the description so that people, and while we timestamp it too, so that you can skip over the ones that have questionable content. Yeah,
that's good. Okay. Second to last one. The last one is really, really long. So we might not get to that one. Oh, we might. Okay. I'll read this one. This one I read all the way through because I started reading it, and then I fell in love with the story.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
The ProRevenge isn't too intense, but it's definitely fun.
Yeah, usually it's just like a person gets their comeuppance. It's not like
it's just revenge.
Yeah.
It's not anything crazy. Okay. This one's called Me and Karen, a love story.
Oh, God.
And then the next line is, just kidding. Karen's a total bitch. But buckle up, because here's my novel. My husband and I are in our late 30s and child-free. Some people on child-free said I should post this here too, so here's my saga. My husband and I have been saving up for almost a decade to move to a tropical paradise. About 2 years ago, we bit the bullet and moved to our dream location. Housing here is really, really expensive, like Hawaii prices. So all we could afford was half a duplex. It is beautiful and on the water and with a place for our boat. Unfortunately, Karen and Billy Bob, the boyfriend, and her 3 gremlins live in the other unit. The setup. There's some period of time we just went for a week here and there, but we live here full time now. The entire duplex was owned by an older, I almost said gremlin, gentleman, who rented out both sides. This side do not match at all. The sides do not match at all. One side has a 5-bedroom, 3-bath, and the other side has a 2-bedroom, 1-bath. We bought the 5-bedroom on our side of the property. We have 90% of the backyard, a gazebo, dockage, about 150 feet since it's on the corner, and the other side has a small backyard, a patio, and maybe 15 feet of dockage. The rental leases say that the renters are entitled to their specific backyard, but there were no fences or anything, so all the renters shared an entire backyard. After we bought the house, Karen immediately tried to throw her weight around, and they expected to continue with that privilege, using the whole backyard.
Okay.
I told her that if she asked politely, we would try to accommodate her. She thought that this meant she could use our backyard whenever she wanted. The party incident. One day, my husband and I are enjoying some drinks outside when a delivery truck shows up to set up a giant blow-up thing in our backyard. I asked Karen what the fuck she thought she was doing, and she said it was her kid's birthday. Then she said then she had the gall to say that it was families and friends only event. So we had to stay inside our house.
Fuck you.
Not wanting to be a total asshole and ruin a little girl's birthday, I told Karen that after this she had no access to our backyard, period. Karen shrugged and kept setting up for the party. During the party, a drunk adult wandered into our house and shocked us all. I said, Karen's house is at the other side. And he said, oh, Karen said she owned the whole property and to use whichever bathroom was available. I directed him to Karen's bathroom, and soon after she came storming into our house.
Oh my God.
Screaming about how dare we make her look so bad in front of her friends and how selfish we are that we couldn't spare just one bathroom. She said
that's not what it was. That was never just going to be one bathroom.
Nope. She said we didn't deserve all the space with just us. I told Karen to get the hell out of my house or I'd be calling the cops. She finally left and the party wrapped up shortly after. The backyard remodel. After the party incident, we decided we needed to clearly define the backyard and build a fence. While we were spending the money, we decided to update the patio and the fire pit and the outdoor kitchen. While the contractor was on site, Nosy Karen had to come and investigate. Since the fence would be the last thing that they built, I was vague and just stuck to telling her about the patio update. You could see her face light up because, of course, in her mind, what's ours is hers.
Oh, yeah, a new patio.
When the workers started on the fence, Karen came out screaming for the work to stop. I went outside and told the workers to keep working and told Karen to butt out. Of course, in true Karen fashion, she called the cops.
Of course she did.
What happened?
Customer service line.
Yep. What happened next was hilarity on my part after explaining to the cops that we're building the fence on our property and that the landlord knew, of which Karen was not. When the cop gave Karen a stern lecture, I thought her head was going to explode. She went back into her house and slammed the sliding door so hard that it sounded like something cracked.
Jesus Christ.
We got our fence, and I thought that would be the end of it. But of course not. The boat incident.
I like how it's like different episodes of a fucked up sitcom.
One day, Billy Bob entered the picture, and he was as much of a terrible neighbor as Karen.
This is redneck, everybody loves Raymond.
Mm-hmm. He would throw cigarette butts and empty beer cans over our fence for disrespecting his woman. I didn't know Paradise had trailer trash, but Billy Bob is the epitome of the stereotype.
You get him, Billy Bob.
Billy Bob has a boat. It's a 30-foot fishing boat, to be precise. Of course, that side of their duplex only had 15 feet of dockage. Since we have so much dockage and only one boat, we rent out our other dock spots as a month to month. People come and go, so if we don't receive rent from them by the end of the month, then the boat disappears, and we think nothing of it. We had a renter who tied up their boat on the property line, but Billy Bob wanted to park his boat and needed that space. Karen and Billy Bob posed at us. We were out of town, and told the renters to be gone at the end of the month. They then parked Billy Bob's boat on our dockage.
Oh.
I only found out about it a week later because the renter left a nasty review on the rental site that we use. They said that we were rude and went back on our verbal agreement, and that we didn't let them stay there for the 3 months that they had requested. I was like, what the fuck is all of this? And after a phone call, I quickly put 2 and 2 together. I called the cops, who told Karen and Billy Bob that they needed to move their boat or it would be towed, or the equivalent of it anyway.
Sure.
Because it's on the water.
Right.
Karen and Billy Bob started screaming that the boat is fully on their property. It isn't. And then changed to the fact that no one can own the water. True, but the seawall is deeded.
Right.
That we're liars, and that at some point Billy Bob punched a cop and went to jail.
Oh my god.
I felt bad for the cops, so I took them snacks the next day with a note apologizing for all of our neighbor drama. I ended up winning my small claims suit against them for the lost rental income, but of course haven't seen a dime. I eventually convinced the dockage renters to come back and give them a few months free as compensation. The final revenge. If you made it this far, congratulations. Get ready for a juicy justice boner, apparently.
Oh boy.
So, with the collapsing market...
I wasn't going to say it.
What?
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Nothing like a good boner.
I wouldn't know.
Especially of the justice variety.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. I like karmic retribution.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more. That's what really does it for me.
It really gets my boner going.
yeah, exactly.
So with the
you can quote me on that.
So with the collapsing market, we were trying to figure out what to do with our savings when a perfect opportunity showed up. The landlord, who owned both properties, was in desperate need of some cash and was tired of managing the property from 2,000 miles away, because of course Karen is Karen and called him Wiggly for every little thing. His only stipulation was that we let the poor single mom, who has been renting the place for 8 years, finish her lease, which was up in July. Since we just have money, we are trying to reinvest, and because now we would get to control our neighbors. Heck, we jumped on that. Since we didn't need a realtor or a mortgage or an inspection, because it had just been done a year ago, for an old landlord to refinance, everything was closed in just under 2 weeks. Karen was aware that there was a change of ownership. We registered the property under an LLC, but she didn't know who until 8 years ago. Until 8 years ago! But she didn't know who until 8 days ago. I went over to Karen's house and knocked on the door. Karen answered with a, "What the fuck do you want, cunt?"
Oh, Jesus.
Wow. I smiled.
Aggressive.
Yeah, right? To your landlord, no less. I smiled and handed her our landlord information and sweetly reminded her that rent was due on Friday, but she could just hand me a check right now if that was easier. I always heard descriptions of people's face turning white, but this was the first time I'd actually seen it. I told Karen that we were honoring her lease until the end of July, but afterwards she had better make plans to move because we were going to remodel it before the next tenants moved in. Bye, bitch.
Jesus Christ.
And a lot of people misunderstood the beginning. Yeah, no, that's fine. I understand what duplexes are. Update 1.
Okay, yeah.
Not much to update, folks. Karen and the family's lease isn't up until the end of July. Rent's been paid on time, as far as I know. She doesn't have a new place lined up, though. We've served her 30-day notice, and we'll be renewing it with the lease. And will not be renewing the lease. But we also offered in writing that we will be prorate July that we will prorate July and waive termination fees until if they want to leave before the end of the lease. Beyond the near weekly loud parties and having to call the police on her because the kids were throwing fireworks at our boat, not much has happened beyond the norm. Update 2. Long story short, Karen and the family is still in place and not paying any rent. They were served with eviction, but due to COVID stuff, they can't actually do anything about it.
Oh, yeah.
At least Karen and Billy Bob...
This is now. Gotcha.
Yeah, at least Karen and Billy Bob got into a giant fight, which ended up with him being arrested, and he hasn't returned. I've been told by a lawyer that once some laws are changed or removed in September, we can have the police escort them off the property, since we've already fixed for the eviction. It just is a shit show right now. Karen is being extra smug. She tried to push her boundaries and kept coming over to our property. I talked with the cops and sat with her and got her set straight, but she's playing loud music and just tossing her trash everywhere. We really want her to move because we want to get our elderly parents in as quick and remodel. Because my dad has a shoulder surgery and my mom needs a walker. They need more care, and it's getting harder driving 2 hours a day to do that. Our parents want their own space, though, and don't want to live on our side with us. My husband and I are trying not to be angry and make things worse for Karen, but we're both exhausted. Things just suck.
Jeez, that seems like a whole big mess, especially if it's all that happening during COVID, too.
Well, the thing is I think that was all, like, right before COVID, and then she was supposed to leave, and then COVID hit, so...
Yeah, I mean, like, and that's, like, for everybody's security, because then, like, God forbid you can't pay rent, you're not fucking homeless in the middle of a pandemic. But that just happened to not work out particularly well for these individuals. Yeah.
Well, they gotta get out eventually, so...
Yeah, that's rough.
Hopefully this month.
Yeah, they did say September, so hopefully she's
good luck to you guys.
Free of that. Yeah, jeez. That's brutal.
Alright, this is the last one, and it's like an 8-pager, I think.
Oh, jeez. This is a big story. This is the biggest one, right?
5, 6, yep, 6 pages.
Oh, okay.
This one's called, My Grandmother Put Greedy Preachers in Their Places, twice, even after she died.
Oh, alright. Grandma from the grave, let's go.
We have the TLDR on top, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, we'll skip over that because we'll not tell the story.
My grandma... Perfect start.
Starting off strong.
My grandmother was a member of a large conservative Bible-believing church for her entire adult life. This church, which I'll call Big White Church...
okay,
names,
apt. Again, with the perfect names.
Was a member of a large evangelical denomination. Big White Church was located in a prosperous suburb of a large city in a Bible Belt of the deep south of USA. Sounds good.
So we're like right in the thick of it.
Grandma was very active in the Big White Church. She worked in the nursery every single morning, on Sunday, helping to cook hundreds of church fellowship breakfasts and dinners, accompanying her children and grandchildren on dozens of church retreats and choir tours, taught youth Bible study on Sunday nights, and was very active in supporting home missions, as well as helping other youth programs. She always tithed and often gave extra for missions and special offerings. Grandma's greatest talent was making other people feel important. I've seen this firsthand many times. Although I belonged to a different church, I often visited with Grandma, and when I did, I usually went to Big White Church functions with her. I've seen her single-handedly cook breakfast for dozens of Big White Church youth, a task which took over 2 hours, and even in the church's large kitchen. Then, after the meal, she asked the group for a round of applause. Oh, for the high school student teacher leader, doing such a great job of organizing the prayer breakfast. I remember that on Big White Church youth retreat at a rural church camp, she drove most of the night to go back to the city and retrieve a big box of evangelistic materials that one of the assistant pastors, whom I'll call Ass Pastor, had forgotten.
What?
And asked her to...
I don't know about that one.
That's funny. In time for our morning program the next day. His boss, the senior pastor, that I'll call Pompous Pastor, never found out that Ass Pastor had screwed up. I love Ass Pastor.
I feel like this is a character now. We have like Ass Pastor has to exist in something. Dungeons and Dragons, maybe.
Maybe I need
Throw
it.
him into a campaign.
He had never so Pompous Pastor never found out that Ass Pastor had screwed up, or that Grandma had fixed it for him. Ass Pastor never.
I love Ass Pastor.
Ass Pastor never even thanked Grandma. Even though I was a child, this bothered me so much that I asked her about it. She said that she didn't mind at all. She told me the reward would be all those materials, which would help the children find Jesus. My God. Grandma's service to her church ended abruptly at the age of 73 when she broke her back in a car accident. Afterwards, at least 10 years of her life, she was homebound and couldn't go to church because of this. Injury and declining health due to old age. Her mind was just as sharp as ever, though, and her faith remains sincere, but her body wore out more and more every day. During those 10 years, she made many efforts to reach out to her church, its leadership, and her church friends, inviting them to visit her at home, without success. Every one of those individuals declined or simply ignored her. Wow, that's shitty. Thanks,
Jesus.
church.
Yeah, real nice. Real familial.
Yep. Nothing's more hateful than Christian love. During those 10 years, she made many. Sorry, I already read that part. Near the end, she was in home hospice care. She decided to plan her own funeral. She and my grandpa called her church and asked for the senior pastor, Pompous Pastor, whom she had known for over 30 years, to visit her so that they could plan her memorial service, which she and grandpa wanted to be held at the church. Pompous Pastor was too busy, and
what's Ass Pastor up to?
But Ass Pastor stopped by a few days later. According to my grandpa, here's what happened at that meeting with my grandpa literally on her deathbed. Grandma and Grandpa and Ass Pastor discussed her funeral for a couple of minutes. Then Ass Pastor started pressuring her to lay up your treasure in heaven. Lay up your treasure in heaven by remembering your church in your will. Wow.
Oh yeah, they like ask you to like, hey, you should like
give us all your money.
Leave us your money because God will use it for something.
Grandpa told him firmly that this is neither the time nor the place to discuss her will. They went back to discussing the funeral for a few minutes, then Ass Pastor steered the conversation back to Grandma's will, with liberal injections of how badly her church needed her support. Grandpa told him several times that it was inappropriate to talk to Grandma about her will and the church's financial needs, because she was terminally ill and in an enormous amount of physical pain. Ass Pastor would agree and briefly talk about the funeral, but would then go back to talking about the church's financial needs, heavenly rewards. Where your treasure is where your heart will be also.
What a crock
Matthew,
of
blah, blah. I'm not even fucking citing it.
Yeah, what a crock of bullshit that all is.
My grandma started crying. To put this into context, Grandma was more than steel magnolia. She was titanium coated with diamond wrapped in Kevlar. She rarely ever cried, and never ever cried about herself. Not one tear when the doctor told her that her back was broken so badly that she would never walk again, nor the following 6 months in the futile rehab. She would shed sincere but well-meaning tears at funerals and while visiting family members in the hospital when they received bad news. She would cry to console others, weep with those who weep, but nobody, not Grandma, not her daughter, my mom, nor any of the uncles or Grandma's siblings ever remembered her crying for herself. But my grandma was sobbing uncontrollably. Grandpa, a retired steelworker from the Marine sergeant and the Korean War combat veteran, physically grabbed Ass Pastor and escorted him out of their house, not too gently. Contrary to everyone's expectations, Grandma lived another 6 months, mostly because of sheer force of will. Eventually, though, yes, fucking
iron.
Yeah. Eventually, though, Grandma passed away, and we held her memorial service at the funeral home, not the big white church. Pompous Pastor and Ass Pastor were conspicuously absent. In fact, there were no professional Christians from Big White Church at the service at all. Yeah, right? Nah. Not even in the audience. To start the service, Grandpa stood up at the podium in front of the crowd and said, "Some of you may have heard that I disinvited Pompous Pastor and Ass Pastor from the funeral service. The service is not an appropriate place for me to give you my reasons for doing this. although you all know me, and so you know my reasons are good ones. Also, my wife asked me to exclude them. This funeral service may be different from other funerals that you have attended. It's going to be an open microphone funeral. Everyone who wants to say something is invited to come up here and describe your friendship with my wife. Tell a story about her that is worth remembering, or anything else that you want to say that will honor her memory and bring comfort to everybody here today. I have asked several family members to prepare statements. Sorry,
You're good.
but you don't have any. But if you don't have anything prepared, please still come up and talk. And please, if you want to say something, just come up here and do so. There were about 100 people at the funeral service. At least a third of them eventually stepped up to the microphone. The service, which we had planned for to last about 30 minutes, lasted over 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
And as best as I can tell, not one person left early. There was laughing, crying, hugging. 3 of her grandchildren played some of her favorite songs on the piano and guitar, and we all joined hands and sang her favorite hymns. Afterwards, dozens of people told my grandpa that it was one of the most comforting and uplifting funerals they'd ever attended. More than a few remarked that funerals are better without any preachers anyway, or something similar. Remembering her pastors and her church in her will. The 1-2 punch.
Oh, is this the next section? Oh. I hope they didn't get to her.
It doesn't seem like it.
Oh, good.
A couple of weeks later, it was time to start distributing the bequests of Grandma's will. The bequests, sorry. Although Grandma and Grandpa dearly loved each other, they had separate wills because she told my mom, that makes it easier for us to respect each other's turf.
Fair.
And because their lawyers had recommended it. Nobody thought that my grandparents were that wealthy. They had lived in the same small but charming house in a prosperous, well-maintained suburban neighborhood for the past 50-plus years, and had worked very hard but lived modestly. But it was rumored that they had a very nice nest egg. Of course, there was no legal requirement for everyone to attend the reading of the will, or to even have a reading. Modern telecommunications and near universal literacy have made that quaint custom practically extinct.
Yeah, understandably so.
But the reading of the will was a tradition in our family because it was one of those events that gave our close-knit extended family an excuse to get together. We never had family reunions. They were too difficult to schedule for a large family, but we got together at birthdays, holidays, funerals, baptisms, etc.
Sure.
So that if you attended several of those, you would see just about every one of your cousins, aunts, uncles, and great aunts and great uncles, grandparents, siblings, in-laws, yada yada. With this family tradition in mind, many of our family members' wills often contained very personal bequests of items that had little cash value, but were where the departed family members' way of telling their loved ones that they wanted to share a cherished memory with them one last time. As an added incentive to attend, the family rumor mill had been buzzing with speculation, encouraged by Grandpa, that Grandma's will contained some surprises. The reading was held in a conference room at a lawyer's office. Unsurprisingly, the attendees include my mom, as well as my aunts, uncles, great uncles, and many of their grandchildren. We were all surprised, however.
Some spicy drama for the will.
We were all surprised, however, to see pompous pastor and ass pastor from the big white church.
Oh, they're here to get their money.
They informed us that Grandma's lawyer had told them that Grandma's will had bequests not only for the big white church, but also for them personally. Maybe it was just her imagination, but my siblings, cousins, and I couldn't help noticing that these preachers appeared to be actively salivating at their good fortune, at Grandma's generosity.
Fucking vultures.
Grandma had a large family, so a sizable number of beneficiaries were named in her will. The lawyer's conference room was a bit smaller than average middle-class living rooms. Extra chairs had been brought in, every seat was filled, and the people were standing in every remaining space. There was barely space for all of us. Grandma's lawyer suggested that pompous pastor and ass pastor sit in chairs, which were in front of the room, next to himself. Since there was a large table in the room, this meant that the lawyer had these two preachers. Since there was a large table in the room, this meant that the lawyer and these two preachers were the only ones directly facing everyone else. Although the preachers were gratified to be physically next to the center of attention, they did not
Huh.
notice, as all of the rest of us quickly noticed, that these seats made it easy for everyone in the room to watch them closely, and practically impossible for them to leave the well-packed room before the entire meeting was over,
Oh.
because they were the farthest from the room's single door, and there were almost 24 people standing or sitting between them and their only path of escape.
This is relevant.
It sounds like it. The bequests were quite generous, but pretty much what we had expected. Grandma kept their house, its contents, the retirement accounts, and everything that remained after all the bequests had been satisfied. Children, grandchildren, and several local charities received nice but not extravagant amounts of money. Several sentimental items were named and given to various friends and relatives. Grandpa was the first beneficiary listed in the will, but after him, all of the other bequests were arranged in order of increasing worth. They started with sentimental items, which had very small cash value. Then each grandchild received several $1,000s.
Oh, wow.
Then each son, daughter, brother, sister, niece, nephew received a little more. And then several local non-profits received very nice amounts.
Oh, wow.
Bequesting to the big white church, pompous pastor and ass pastor were almost the last ones listed in the will. They listened politely to the other requests, but with steadily growing anticipation as they noticed the exponential upward trend in Grandma's largeness. When Grandma's lawyer got to the big white church and the preacher's part of the will, he said, "This is a bit unusual, but before I announce these bequests to the big white church, pompous pastor and ass pastor, Miss Grandma's name requested that I read the following statement to everyone present." He opened a letter that was written in Grandma's own handwriting. "For the past 10 years, not one person from Big White Church has ever called me, come to visit me, or sent me a note to tell me that they cared about me. Not one minister, not one deacon, not one churchwoman, not one of the church members who I worked with for all those years, loved dearly, and thought were my friends. I worked very hard for you when you needed me, for many, many years, but when I needed you and your church, you all pretended that I didn't exist. I only got one visit. When I was dying, I invited Pompous Pastor to come to my house and help me plan my funeral. This was my last attempt, after many attempts that I had made for the past 10 years, to reach out to my church and pastor, who I still loved dearly, even though they had made it clear that they did not love me. If only I could have my funeral at my church, maybe some of my church friends, who I did not see in a decade, would come to the service and see me one last time. And I know they love to hear Pompous Pastor preach, so if he preached at my funeral, maybe they would come to the funeral to hear him, even if they would not have come to see me. But Pompous Pastor couldn't find the time to visit me, or even call me to tell me whether or not he was willing to preach at my funeral. Ass Pastor came by my house, but he didn't want to talk about my funeral. He just wanted to remember his church in my will. That's all. Just remember his church in my will. It was then that I realized that I had allowed the church to break my heart for one last time, but that was the last time, the very last time. Ass Pastor did not know when he visited me, but Grandpa and I had already prepared my will long before the visit, which did include double the 20% of my entire estate for what was now my former church, Big White Church.
Wow.
This amount was the named amount, an enormous shitload of money, generating muffled words of wow from many of the heirs, including me. But I got to feeling badly that we had not personally remembered since nice people as Pompous Pastor and Ass Pastor. So I changed my will to include them by name. While I was at it, I changed the amount of money that I left to the Big White Church to match all of the love they have showed me during the last 10 years of my life, when I was suffering and lonely and no longer able to work my ass off for them for free like I had done almost half a century. That is her entire written statement, the lawyer said. Now let's go back to the bequests in the will. Bequest to Ass Pastor, 1 cent. Bequest to Pompous Pastor, 1 cent. Bequest to the Big White Church, 1 cent.
She gave them each a penny for her thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking dropped the bomb on them.
The pompous pastor and ass pastor sat there looking like something had just injected a gallon of Novocaine into their jaw. Every one of Grandma's family and friends felt an overwhelming urge to laugh out loud, but we kept quiet because we knew Grandma. We knew she wasn't finished yet. Grandma was simply setting them up for a 1-2 punch. The best was yet to come, and we didn't want to miss it. There's one last bequest, the lawyer continued, for a charity called, which he named, but I'll call Black Charity. And then he paused before naming the account. Most of us had no idea what Black Charity was, but by the looks on their faces, they could tell Pompous Pastor and Ass Pastor knew Black Charity very well. Their faces displayed the same expressions of shock, dread, and horror that they would have if their lawyer had said, "Bequest goes to the demonic baby eaters to buy extra large rotisserie barbecues to grill tons of charcoal and babies." Every eye in the room was now fixated on Pompous Pastor and Ass Pastor. The lawyer who had happened to be my uncle. Oh, that's new.
Oh, wow. Would have been relevant information before. Holy shit.
One of Grandma and Grandpa's sons, let the silence continue for a few seconds more. If we had been able to read Pompous Pastor and Ass Pastor's minds, we would have known the history behind the looks on their faces. Black Charity was sponsored by a large black church just a few miles by Big White Church. Okay.
Nice.
They ran a free food clothing bank, assistance programs for foster children, home delivery for pre-cooked meals and homebound seniors, legal aid, and other social services. A long time ago, Big White Church, which was and still is 100% white, had provided a few years of financial and other support to Black Charity. Then there was a very bitter, acrimonious breakup.
Okay. Acrimonious.
Acrimonious, there it is. Allegedly because Black Charity was practicing the social gospel, while Big White Church was preaching the true gospel.
The social gospel?
Yeah, like being nice to other people.
Oh, like, yeah, not like Christian doctrine, but like, what Jesus would have done.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
Big White Church even sued to try and get some of their money back, although the suit was eventually settled and very little money actually changed hands. But this being the Deep South, everyone knew the real reason why Big White Church, or any white church, would stop supporting a black charity. Those, I'm not going to say that, were getting very uppity and not staying in their place.
Oh, God.
Grandma and Grandpa had seriously considered leaving Big White Church at the time, but they had reasoned that it was better to stay there and teach tolerance by their words and example. They knew they would never persuade everyone, but maybe they could reach out to some of the youth at White Church and break the general cycle of racism. Grandma used to tell us, "My church is my mission field," and we did not learn the true depth of her statement until after she died. Since then, Grandma and Grandpa had secretly sent a portion of their tithe to the Black Charity every month.
Oh, wow.
Most of Grandma's family, including me, did not find out about any of this until after the meeting at the end. But Pompous Pastor and Ass Pastor obviously understood what Grandma, by her actions, because they're more powerful than words, was saying to them. If you had grown up as a white person in the Deep South, as Grandma and Grandpa, Pompous Pastor, and Ass Pastor had, you would understand. To many white Southerners, this was one of the most personally insulting things you could do to them. It was simultaneously labeling them as racists, condemning their bigotry, and crushing their delusions of white superiority by saying, "These black human beings whom you hate, disrespect, and have mistreated are better people than you are, so they deserve my money more than you do." Having allowed time for everyone to observe Pompous Pastor and Ass Pastor while they thought about how their white church had treated this black charity and how they had treated our grandma, the lawyer said, "The amount is," and then named the exact same amount that Grandma had named in her written letter, the huge amount of money that would have gone to Big White Church if she had not changed her will.
Got him.
The end.
Jeez. So, like, not only did she tell them, like, hey, you guys didn't give me anything in my life, so I'm going to give you nothing, except a penny for my thoughts, which I think was, like, that was a cute way of doing that. But also then, like, just completely read them for filth and called them out on their bullshit all in one swing. Like no one knew about it too, which was like, I don't know, like there's something cool about that. Like,
no, that lady sounds like a fucking badass.
yeah, she didn't want anything special for her. She didn't want to be treated like, oh, I'm
She just wanted people to visit her.
Yeah.
She was dying and broken and like old and like couldn't go anywhere, and she literally just wished that people would come see her.
Yeah. And the Bible Belt Doctrine boys were just like, yeah, but like, have you considered giving us your money? Because like, God needs
Because you
it.
can't give us your work anymore, so I mean, do we really want to see you? Like,
Yeah. It's like a.
And then he just punched him in the face.
It's like a bad boss. It's like, well, there's like, well.
That's worse than a bad boss.
Yeah, well,
like,
yeah, absolutely.
Because at least when I go to work, I know my boss doesn't give a fuck about me. When you go to church, you assume people give two shits about you, at least hopefully.
That's a good point.
She literally.
I don't have that much of a framework. I never really went to church.
Well, I never went to church either, but God knows that if you're in any kind of formulated religion, it's a support system.
Yeah, it's supposed to be like a familial kind of thing, yeah.
At the very least, you're supposed to kind of care about what happens to each other.
Right.
That's why people go to church, that's why people should want to go to church.
Of course. Jesus. Well, I mean, still a satisfying revenge story, though.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. Definitely.
That was my second story, and I moved it to the end because of how long it was.
Yeah, it's got a ton of build-up.
But I'm really glad I moved that one to the end.
Yeah, absolutely. This is an interesting subreddit in general. It's definitely like, it's a different kind of thing than what I usually experience.
No, I love the ProRevenge subreddit. I like Nuclear Revenge better sometimes because it gets fucking crazy.
Yeah, it's more like extreme. It's like playing extreme baseball. It's like this is just like you know, watching a baseball game where your team's losing and they come from behind, and Nuclear Revenge is the same thing, but they're playing baseball with a grenade.
Yeah. It's like watching a baseball game where one team's trying to cheat, but then the other team like wins without trying to cheat back. The other one is like them watching a baseball game, and the
bat is a samurai sword,
and the ball is a grenade, and then they try to like cheat, and then the other team kills the first one.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I feel like this is definitely like, the more that I like read into different parts of Reddit, the more that I'm just like, what the fuck is going on in the world around me? Like, I grew up in such a kind of like run of the mill, very simple place, and just like all this like this is all like, all this shit's like, this was all like small town drama, like small town big money drama, which like, I don't know. I mean, I know small town drama,
right?
But I don't know any of that shit. Like,
well, I picked some of these stories kind of at random, so I didn't really notice that I picked a bunch of like rich white people stories.
Sure. Yeah, it's definitely a different departure from a lot of the stuff that we read in Am I the Asshole?
Yeah. But
and I feel like when it came down to it, like pretty much everybody we talked about, like they kind of deserved their comeuppance. Like there was no one that I was just like, oh well, that wasn't that. Like pretty much everybody kind of.
Lots of that kind of stuff more comes from the Nuclear Revenge.
Oh yeah, where it's just like, okay, you didn't.
Maybe you shouldn't have hit back that hard.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't have cut him in half with a bandsaw.
The ProRevenge is usually pretty fitting, and it's not all like really big like white rich people problems either. Right. But it usually has something to do with them because they're usually the ones trying to like dupe you.
Yeah, I feel like in general, like the whole like the Karen stories are just like, those are popular.
Yeah,
everybody's talking about it right now.
Yeah, Karens. They've been hot and they'll be hot.
Yeah, let us know if you want to hear us talk about our favorite.
Oh my god,
Karen
just
stories.
like r/Karen.
Yeah, that, or like, I mean, we've worked in retail. We've got juice. We've got lots of juice.
I love r/entitled parents.
That one sounds fascinating.
No, there was one other ProRevenge story. I don't have it printed, and probably thank God by this point people are probably tired of hearing me badly read.
Oh, you're fine.
But there was a girl who got fired from her job because she was trying to do right by the workers while the other people were like, they were just classic bad bosses.
Yeah.
And they set out a plan to get her fired. They had their line cook tell her that someone paid for food, but they had fucked it up, and so she could eat it. And she was like, "Are you sure?" And he was like, "Yeah, take it. Otherwise, I'm going to put it in the trash." And so she's like, "Okay." So she sat down and ate it. And then they were like, "You know that's stealing, right?" Like the bosses came out and they're like, "Did you pay for that food?" She's like, "The line cook said I could have it." And like he said that it was like a messed up order and we were going to throw it away so I could take it. And they're like, "That's stealing. You should like gather your stuff and like just leave because you're fired."
Fuck that shit.
But then she recorded a conversation she heard them having about she like recorded them or she recorded their conversation about how they planned it, and then at the end she showed the business so that they would know where it took place.
Right.
And then she got hired somewhere else, but they had already been like spreading rumors that she was a thief, so she couldn't get hired anywhere else.
Fuck that.
But
what is that bullshit about?
She showed the boss or the new hire guy the video, and so he hired her on the spot with a pay increase.
Nice.
And then the boss brought the video because he had her send it to him, and he sent it to a lawyer who sent it to the head of the other business, like the CEO of that business.
Oh shit.
Who then tried to get them on it, and then also realized that one of the bosses had been like sexually assaulting a bunch of the workers, and the other one was like running a back market green card business for illegal immigrants and then severely underpaying them. And
oh, whoa.
So it unraveled into this huge thing.
Yeah, like it was like they fucked up one thing and then it just turned into this whole fucking fiasco.
Yeah. Like the CEO even went to jail for a short period of time because she owned the business, and then
all that was like happening under her watch.
The boss's wives both divorced them, and like a bunch of people got deported, and then the two bosses went to jail for like 10 years each.
Jesus Christ. That's wow, okay. Was that nuclear or was that
regular? I think it was just regular revenge.
Oh damn!
But
it does go to a pretty deep extent.
But that was just she wasn't even fucking trying. She was just trying to get hired somewhere else.
Hey, yeah, these guys did this to me, so if you hear anything, just let me know. And then it turned into a fucking scandal.
She just used the video so that she could get hired.
Right.
And then her new boss.
Well, it was like, listen, like if you hear rumors about me being a thief, this is what actually happened, and show the video. Yeah.
And then the new boss sent it to a lawyer who sent it to a CEO who then ended up getting the police involved, who then found out they were just absolutely garbage people, and then ended up busting them for a bunch of other really intense crimes.
Okay, I've never had anything that bad happen to me in retail.
And then she never...
But like, holy shit.
She never...
That's crazy.
She didn't even know it had happened until someone from her old job got hired. And then she's like, "Oh yeah, how's that old place doing? Like what? And he was like, "It shut down." And she was like, "What?" And then he told her everything that happened.
Jesus. Yeah, wow. That's okay. So some of those stories do get pretty intense. Yeah. Damn.
I just picked some pretty.
Oh, before I forget too, I did spend a portion of time in the middle of some of those stories looking for that other story that I mentioned at the beginning.
Okay.
I can't find it.
Oh.
I might if I'm able to find it at a later date, I'm gonna address it and I will add it to another video or something like that. Like we'll kind of be like, oh yeah, I found that thing. But it was a story. It's like a really famous story about a guy, and like I think that he had like a farm, and they were like trying to. Maybe I can look it up.
What is it? When people like kept ripping up the garden or something like that? No, or was it the one where you like built the pig pen near like the property line?
He had a farm, and they were trying to tear down. Like the city was trying to tear down the farm so that they could put up a parking lot for a mall. And he wouldn't let them do it because it was his property. So they like did a bunch of stuff that basically like ruined his business, like to just try to like buy him out. And like he like went bankrupt and it like ruined his entire lifestyle. And so he like spent several months he built a bunch of like metallic plating and like armor plating and shit. He like went hardcore, and then like in the middle of the night one night he like stole a piece of drivable construction equipment and then like armor plated the whole thing so that it was like bullet resistant.
Oh.
And then he drove it to their parking lots and just started crushing their shit and running people over. And he like destroyed most of the mall and like bulldozed City Hall down before somebody actually sniped him out of the car and killed him. But he like they ruined his whole lifestyle. He was just this like regular farmer who was trying to get by, and they're like, your farm shouldn't exist. It's in the way of our fucking strip mall. Well, and so he fucking crushed it. He stole their shit, armor plated it, crushed a bunch of them, and like knocked City Hall over.
Classic humanity.
Yeah, he's a fucking legend. I can't remember. I have to look up that guy. I will see if I can find that story. Somebody posted it on Facebook or something. I was trying to dig it up that way, but like I kept trying to put in like keywords because I can't remember the guy's name and I can't find it.
Well, maybe we'll bring it up on if we ever do r/nuclear revenge.
Yeah, because I mean he actually did kill people, so like at least I think he did. I'm pretty sure he killed.
Now we talked about killing people twice.
Yeah, we did talk about killing people a lot. Anyway. We'll save that for nuclear revenge. Yeah. If we ever do that one might be a little bit content warning. I can only imagine. But yeah. So anyway, thank you for tuning in to Hannah's trip through another fun corner of Reddit. I would give you a hint as to what my next episode is going to be about, but I have like 2 unformed topics that I haven't decided which one I'm going to do yet. So
no hint this week.
There will be a hint in the description. But I haven't decided yet, and I don't want to potentially spoil another future video
or say
idea.
The wrong thing,
or I mean, it's still early enough along that I could like hit a really good third idea and be like, never mind, I want to do that. So keep your eyes peeled to the description to see what kind of thing you might be expecting from us next week.
Also, before we go, I want to link my Teespring one more time because
yes.
Selfless promotion here. I'm going to be working on some art for Teespring, and I'm going to have all sorts of warm sweaters and hoodies and stuff with cute little designs.
Getting around that time of year.
So
starting to be hoodie season. Perfect fun little nerdy hoodies for sitting on your back porch and sipping hot tea.
Yeah, we got mugs.
Oh, we got mugs?
Yeah.
We have mugs now?
Yeah, we have mugs.
Hell yeah!
So even if
now you can't resist.
Even if you don't want to buy, even if you want to just look, it's cute.
Yeah, absolutely. Pick up maybe a little something fun for the fall.
Maybe
season.
I'll make a podcast merch.
Ooh, we could put like the Wisdom Save logo on like a hoodie or a mug, or we could like put just like us staring at the stars.
But we also have all sorts of like D&D stuff. We got like,
for those of you who watched the video of our D&D characters, do we still have the blanket?
Oh god, yeah, we have the blanket with all of our D&D characters.
It's kind of a ridiculously oversized blanket, but we have all of our D&D characters.
Big, it's expensive, but Kyle, our friend, good Kyle, because from anyone that's listened to the other podcast.
Yeah. Yes, good Kyle, not
from our D&D
evil Kyle.
campaign, bought it because he's a baller, and
he went in.
So soft and it's so good looking, and I'm jealous, and I want that blanket when I start making like money that I am not going to waste on other shit like Halloween things and like potion bottles.
Of course,
I'm gonna buy that blanket.
So we're gonna link that again if you want to check that out. If I find that story, we're gonna bring it up again in the podcast. But if I find that story, I'll probably link it in there. But
no, we'll talk about it on r/intense revenge, whatever it is.
Nuclear
revenge.
Grenade baseball.
Yeah.
r/grenade baseball.
Anyway, we'll talk about it later. We'll link it if we find it, but we're probably gonna talk about it later.
All right, well, thank you very much for listening. As always, we appreciate you. Have yourselves a lovely rest of your week.
Okay.
Okay, love you, bye.
Love you, bye.